You might think this is a bargain basement version of the movie Overlord, but the Devils of War, also known as 101st A Company, actually came out a few years before Overlord. But we have seen many kind of horror and science fiction movies that have incorporated Nazis and kind of World War II. This is but another one, albeit this one is a very low budget B-movie schlockfest. Written and directed by Eli Dorsey, The Devils of War tells a story of a small unit of American soldiers who are effectively these small band of people who have been plucked from different units to give it this kind of like the best of each of the kind of like the skills that are needed for this mission. And these 4 guys are sent to occupied Poland in 1944 to extract a informant who has been working in secret in this kind of Nazi secret base and informing on them. And this base, they're kind of doing various kind of occult experiments with the kind of like the chief commanding officer of this Nazi base being this kind of Fraulein Elsa She-Wolf of the SS type character who runs the kind of like the camp and is, you know, so somewhat kind of a dominatrix, you might say. And they've been trying to create super soldiers by combining the Nazi soldiers with demonic possession. And it's up to these kind of 4 band of allied soldiers to try and extract this kind of informant, along with defeating the bad guys. What will happen? You'll have to watch the movie and find out. So again, I'll point out this is a very schlocky movie. I mean, we've seen things like Dead Snow or Outpost and things like that. This is not really a movie that is particularly dramatic. It's kind of like very silly and schlocky. I suspect, and although this is only my speculation, this was probably made with the involvement of some type of World War II reenactment kind of troupe or players or something, because there's elements here that I feel kind of point me to that conclusion. Let's discuss a little bit more about what I think worked in this film. Now, despite its low budget, this movie is quite action-packed with kind of lots of kind of shootouts, and there are a couple of instances where I do feel it's obviously a you know, very, very small budget, but we do have a couple of kind of wide shots with a kind of you know, this kind of base. I mean, it looks a little bit modern, admittedly, but yeah, there's a reasonable amount of kind of like open location shootings and quite a lot of extras at some points. You know, all with kind of like, I mean, the uniforms aren't always accurate, but there's an attempt there at least, and things like that, and a little bit of kind of hardware. So I thought, for the budget, and this is where I suspect the kind of like these reenactment kind of situations might come in, because a lot of them, they're wearing these kind of like what looks like paintball masks and things like that. But yeah, there's a reasonable amount of I think an attempt here to have somewhat of a scale. I mean, it's very low budget. It's kind of like quite low quality model work and green screen work. So please don't be expecting anything too high tech with this one. But there's an attempt here, I think, to have a couple of relatively kind of well put together, considering the budget, kind of set pieces and things. There's a couple of fun ideas that I quite liked in this movie. For example, the Nazis are trying to create these kind of like sort of hybrid demon, you know, Nazi soldier, kind of super soldiers, and one of the kind of side effects from doing this kind of procedure is that these kind of now possessed Nazis can't breathe normal air. They actually have to breathe like sulfur infused air. So they have to wear these kind of tanks in their back and can't breathe the kind of the air of this world because they're used to hell and stuff. And I thought, well, you know what? It was quite a neat little idea here. And there's a couple of instances where I think, you know what, that's actually kind of quite a little fun idea that they've incorporated. It gives it a little bit of the extra element. There's also some directorial flourishes. I mean, it's fleeting, and obviously the budget does restrict certain kind of like ambition. But there's a couple of instances here, probably a little bit like the intro that I put at the beginning of this movie, where you'll see some sort of like just a little bit of flourishes in regards to stylistic choices that the director has made here that I think gives it a little bit of flavour here and there and shows a little bit of flourish. The director is actually, I think, has primarily worked in VFX, but obviously this one again, I have to point out, it's such a low budget film. There are some quite fun characters and some quite fun interactions. One of our allied soldiers is a black guy, and he's obviously having to, because of the kind of the situation at the time, having to deal with another kind of one of his colleagues who is like massively overtly racist, and these two are constantly kind of at each other through the whole movie. I mean, it's not trying to be a realistic depiction of the time. It's a schlocky B movie, but you know, I think there is some fun kind of like character moments that gives these characters a little bit of flavour, and you know, you get an idea of their kind of somewhat over the top sort of personalities. Even some of the kind of the Nazi characters, I think they give a little bit of flavour for. We've even got a sword fight here. One of the kind of the soldiers has been serving in the Pacific, and he's then brought back a kind of samurai sword. So we even get a sword fight in the movie. So yeah, there's a certain element of fun, of cheesiness, of kind of schlocky kind of action. It's all very kind of low budget, you know, After Effects kind of style, kind of like gunfire and explosions. So let's talk about what doesn't work. I mean, yes, the budget is obviously going to be the main issue here. It looks incredibly cheap. There's some very kind of obvious like model work and kind of, you know, green screen. I will say there's a couple of instances where we see wide angle shots, and they look like they've kind of got like they're filming on a kind of like a base type thing, and you know, there's a reasonable amount of extras with uniforms. This is partially why I think they're, you know, they've kind of got like these World War II reenactors kind of doing it and stuff. But they're all wearing like paintball masks and things, so it's obviously that's kind of what they're actually doing, I would suspect. But yes, there is a kind of a real sort of silliness to it. Maybe a bit of an overuse of kind of like, you know, Adobe After Effects and things where sometimes less could have been more. I don't think this movie is necessarily trying to go for a realistic approach, but you know, again, I feel that it's leaving itself open for critiques of the kind of the VFX. The acting, although the characters are quite kind of fun, they are a little bit on the kind of the cheesy side in regards to some of the kind of the acting here. There's not really anyone I don't think is you would say really shows a huge amount of promise in kind of, you know, genuine kind of dramatic acting. There's obviously kind of sort of various kind of like sort of plot holes and things that are just kind of like breezed over in regards to, you know, drama and genuine kind of like, that doesn't really quite make sense, but we'll just kind of go with it. And some of the action, although it's plentiful, you know, it's one of these kind of almost Rambo 2-esque kind of style sequences where our good guys are just mowing down tons of Nazis, and the Nazis never seem to be able to hit anything and things like this, and it all happens a little bit too easily, so it lacks any type of drama. It's really a very, very silly movie, very much a tongue-in-cheek B movie. Do I think it's a good movie? I don't think it's terrible, let me put it like this. It has an element of fun. Can I legitimately say it's a good movie? No, I can't. Can I say it's an average movie? No, not really. But I don't think it's as horrible as maybe some would lead you to believe. There are a couple of good ideas. There's a couple of, you know, fun characters. There's a couple of directorial kind of stylistic choices that I kind of appreciate. I'll give it a 4 out of 10. It's not a great movie by any stretch, but if you appreciate a lover of the B movie, then this one is probably maybe one you might want to check out. Have you seen it? Please do let me know what your thoughts are, and I shall look forward to you next time. It's a 4 out of 10 for me.